For years, people have been asking Valve, when's Left 4 Dead 3 coming out? When's Left 4 Dead 3 coming out? I've been asking when Left 4 Dead 3 is coming out. Well, turns out the original devs for Left 4 Dead decided to make their own version of Left 4 Dead 3 called Back 4 Blood. Me and Phil Hornshaw here got a chance to check out some of the closed alpha for the game. And yeah, Phil, how much is this game just Left 4 Dead?
Yeah, it's been a long time since I played Left 4 Dead. This feels like I fell right back into it from back in the days of the orange box and whatever. It feels great, but it also feels very, very familiar.
Yeah, no, I certainly wouldn't say that's a bad thing. At least for me personally, I feel like there hasn't been a game that's quite hit the itch that Left 4 Dead had. So like seeing the way this game is just like the way it feels, the way it's structured, it's like, yep, you're going through these kind of like scripted levels. There's 4 different sections for each one. You have your primary weapon, your secondary weapon, melee weapons are a thing. The hordes function very much the same. I think it still has a director, right? Like
yes.
It kind of uses that AI.
This feels very much more action focused to me than I think original Left 4 Dead did. You're still doing things like avoiding interacting with certain things that might draw the horde on you and stuff like that. But this is a game that Turtle Rock is doing the zombie apocalypse, but it's deeper in, right? Like, so instead of being a survivor in the outbreak, like in Left 4 Dead, it's been about a year. You've got an established settlement. I think it's called Fort Hope. And these are like the badasses who have survived the zombie apocalypse and are established. And so you're kind of out there like knowing what you're doing. You're better at this than maybe the characters in Left 4 Dead were, and you know how to live in the zombie apocalypse. So it's still very much, running from hordes and trying not to die, and the world is all against you, but you're a stronger group of characters who are a little more capable, and you're kind of waging war against the zombies more than maybe in Left 4 Dead.
And it does that thing that the original Left 4 Deads did, which I liked, where a lot of that comes in through character dialogue, context clues, writing on the wall. It does all that stuff. Like Left 4 Dead, I really like the characters so far. They have very strong personalities, and they banter off of each other. So it's hitting all those same feelings.
Let's do this before I change my mind.
But let's get into what this game does do differently.
Right.
The main thing being its card system.
Yeah, so it feels like Turtle Rock has pulled a lot from Left 4 Dead originally, and then kind of merged in some of the things that it learned from its other big asymmetrical multiplayer game, Evolve, right? So you've got this card system, and you earn cards as you play, and you unlock them over time, and you build out what is called a deck, like a card deck, before each mission that you play. And the cards are all like different perks, right? So as you run a mission, at the start you have a deck of say 15 cards. You get to pick, I think, 3 that are sort of randomly given to you as a series of choices. Like you get a hand of 3 cards and you get to pick one, and then you assign 3 to your character at the start, and they kind of tweak how you will play the game, right? So like you might get more effective meds, or the ability to sprint and shoot at the same time, or any number of other perks. And so you're creating a deck that's kind of tuned to your playstyle that will give you a bunch of cool little perks along the way. And you use those to like make yourself a better co-op player, and to give yourself more abilities, and to like amp up the action. So the big metagame part of Back 4 Blood is going to be running these missions over and over again with all these different cards at your disposal, and trying to earn better cards, so that it kind of adds this more replayability factor to the Left 4 Dead formula, because it's still using a lot of those same ideas. You're still playing the same mission, but it'll have like that director idea, like AI that's kind of controlling things and changing up the way the scenario is, so you won't face the same run every time you go. And then your aspect of that, the way you're customizing your playthrough, is with those cards and kind of leaning into your teamwork aspect.
I need to spend more time with it to determine how impactful the cards are, like how is it possible to break the game with that stuff? But at least so far, it seems like it's just tweaks that kind of just like give you a little edge. And like you said, it's almost like you can kind of build like a class without having like a proper class system, and you can build like multiple decks, and you sort of have these presets. So like you said, you can kind of go in knowing like, okay, I'm playing with my friends, and I'm going to build a deck that kind of emphasizes healing,
right,
or giving people like support stuff. And I like also how it is reactive, where in between rounds you'll see the director is like, okay, the director puts down this card that changes the horde for this section.
Yeah. And
you can kind of be like, okay, we need to respond to that. I have this card that I got pulled. I should put that down, and that'll hopefully give us an advantage. I need to spend more time with it, but at least so far it feels like it keeps the game fresh, which was admittedly a thing that I do think eventually got stale about Left 4 Dead, was once you mastered those maps, it's sort of like, the best way to go through those maps, and having the card stuff tweaks the game enough without, at least so far, feeling like, oh, I can just like optimize and like break the game with my specific deck. Like cards aren't that powerful.
It didn't seem like I messed around building a deck this morning when we ran through, and it didn't feel like the cards like may give you that much of an edge of any sort, but they do give you like little tweaks that make you more useful. Like I had a perk card that allowed me to find more weapons and to get weapons with greater frequency. So like they're a little easier to spot in the map. We ran past a bunch when you and I played, right? So like it's not easy to find weapons necessarily. They're all over the place, but it's very easy to blow past them in a combat scenario or whatever. This perk made it so I was finding more weapons, and that they were easier. They like pinged on my HUD a little better too. So I was able to add utility to the team by helping them find better gear. It's stuff like that a lot of the time. There's another one where if one of your characters goes down, everybody else gets healed like 45 points over 10 seconds, which is super useful. Like we got a lot of utility out of that one. It didn't save us. We lost a number of times, but it definitely was helpful to like, when you're running into a horde of zombies trying to save your teammate, you get that little extra boost. And what's cool about the perk cards is that some of them are for the whole team, some of them are just for you, but they do kind of like help you build out your team a little better. And when I was talking to the Turtle Rock devs, something they said was that they were trying to focus more on making the cooperative play feel better regardless of whether you've put in a lot of time, right? So you want to be able to play the game. If you've got 1,000 hours in and you want to play with your teammate or friend or whatever who's got like 2 hours, you don't want them to be an anchor that you're dragging through the match, right? Because they don't have the experience. This card system is kind of geared toward making it so that everybody can have fun and that you're still useful without necessarily having to dump a huge amount of time into the game. Like you do get rewarded for playing, and you do get cooler cards, but they don't make you like super OP or create a situation in which you don't want to play with anybody who doesn't have those cards or anything like that.
The other thing you mentioned was weapons, which is also a pretty big change from Left 4 Dead in that weapons now have attachments that you can find. Sometimes you'll find a weapon with attachment. Other times you will buy attachments at the safe houses using the game's crate and currency system. So far, it seems pretty scarce, so you really have to make a choice between like, do I want to get this health pack or do I want to get an attachment? So far, it feels like compared to previous Left 4 Dead, where you would like kind of find the weapon of your choice, or you'd constantly be kind of changing out weapons. You really want to like stick with a particular weapon that you feel good with and like really deck that one out with the attachments.
Yeah.
At least so far, I do enjoy that system. I feel like it encourages you to, like I said, just like stick with that particular weapon and find that role and kind of stick with it.
Right. Yeah, I do think it's like one, gearing toward having you provide a specific utility to the team so that you guys can all work together, and two, rewarding you for playing well, right, in any given run. Like, so the last couple of runs that I've done, I spent a lot more time just like looking around, and you find the in-game currency, it's called copper, kind of all over the place, depending on the difficulty and that sort of thing, and the way the director is tuning the level to try to help you or hinder you. But so you can find a lot of money, and the way it works, I think, is that any character can pick up money, and then everybody gets that money into their like pocket. So if I find 25 copper, everybody gets 25 copper, but when you buy stuff, It's your particular amount of money. And you're also rewarded with money when you finish the match. The more people who survive an act and get to the safe room at the end, the more money you get at the end. And then you can buy stuff from that crate in the safe room at the beginning of each one, so you can like grab new health items or whatever. There are also things you can find and buy out in the world if you look around. I found a couple places where if you got like, I think it's about 1,000 copper, you can sometimes find a little dossier that's got a perk card that's either a set card or a randomized one that you can just like throw some money down on, you know, in the middle of the match, and suddenly you've got another perk on your character. So it's all stuff that's kind of incentivizing you to work together, play well. Like exploring actually has this big upshot if you're trying to get better weapons, because like we got to the end of Act 4 in our run in just the alpha and got completely demolished a few times, right? Yeah. So like there's definitely a big incentive on hunting around for money, hunting around for, sometimes like you said, you find weapons that are like already decked out with attachments, so you can just be like, oh sweet, AK-47 with laser sights, super good. There's a really big incentive on trying to balance between whether you should just like sprint through and try to stay alive, or whether you should dedicate that time to looking for more gear. And that, I think, adds a lot of replayability too, because like if you can manage to get better stuff, it's almost like a battle royale system, right? Where the better stuff you get to the end, the more chance you have of surviving. But then again, the director might be tuning it to make you have a tougher challenge at the end too, if you're super decked out.
Originally, I was a little frustrated because I felt like I wasn't finding the variety of weapons that I was used to in like Left 4 Dead. Like I remember being like, "Where's the shotgun? I really want a shotgun." Like I love using shotguns in Left 4 Dead, but it turned out it was that I just needed to look more. Like once we started like spending more time like properly exploring, we did find more weapons, as you mentioned. So I do think this game like encourages more exploration of the environments, and it is randomized as well. Like we had a door that had like a little like symbol on it, and we're like, oh, what's that? And it turned out like we needed a lockpick, and we opened it up and it had like a bunch of really good stuff in it, like a perk card and some weapons, and then we died and we restarted that section, and that door was just a door that you couldn't open anymore. So it's like, okay, they are kind of moving things around, so you want to always be like searching and looking for areas for new stuff.
Yeah, and you can also tune your weapons based on your deck. Like you have a bunch of starting weapon cards. So like if you want to put a deck or a card like that in your deck, and you only have 15 slots, right? But if you want to throw in like a shotgun card or an AK-47 card and risk not finding a weapon and starting with one, but you'll have like one less perk possibility basically. So you can, customize a loadout when you go in. We should also note that all the characters seem to have their own special perks and weapons as well. So like I played one guy, I think his name's Hoffman, and he's, like a weekend warrior gun nut kind of guy. He starts with a pistol as opposed to, say, a melee weapon as his secondary, which is super useful because you find pistol ammo just everywhere. And then his character perks, I think it was, he has a chance of causing some enemies to drop ammo when he kills them, right? So other characters are like more melee focused or can move faster or whatever. They all are a little different. They're not like drastically different. So it's not like, if you pick a character that you don't like, you're gonna suffer or anything like that. But they do have like these little extra abilities that that work toward the teamwork aspect of it and give you like a little bit of a different experience.
So I mean, we got a chance to look at the game. It's still an early alpha. We just got that one map, so it's a very brief slice of the game. But Phil, how do you overall feel about how it's shaping up?
Yeah, I'm into it. Like this is a very small slice of the game. Like you said, it doesn't seem like there are a lot of weapons or necessarily other pieces in the game yet that will probably be there in the total package. We don't know what the multiplayer is like, stuff like that. But I have missed Left 4 Dead, I realized as I was playing this, and this is really, it gets you back there really quickly. And I'm into the little roguelike tweaks and the sort of metagame ideas. It feels like a version of Left 4 Dead that will keep you involved for a longer period and be a little better about, making it so players can sink a lot of time into it and still not necessarily get bored with it. I'm interested in seeing where it goes, and I had a pretty good time. We faced off against some interesting weirdo zombies across the, during the course of it. They're similar to Left 4 Dead, but not the same. There's a big, giant monster you fight called an ogre that you mostly just like run from. It's like 20 feet tall. All those aspects seem like cool additions to the underlying formula, but it all feels really familiar, and I feel like I could slip right back into it pretty easy.
All right, well, thank you everybody for watching this video talking about our impressions of Back 4 Blood. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure to click subscribe and hit that little bell so that you can support us, because it means a lot to us. And thank you so much for watching.
Thanks.